What is it with fanboys? Do they sit around the internet just waiting for someone to say something positive about the products they don't like? Because that's what it feels like. It happens with all of them, of course, but just recently I've started to notice just how bloody dedicated your less than average PlayStation fanboy is when it comes to jumping onto social media to vent about how crap they think the Xbox and Microsoft are, or how much better the PlayStation 5 is, or how they don't need the feature that the Xbox has just added. And it's taken even further by the fanboy YouTubers who just can't bear to praise anything but their favoured plastic god with such subtle and well thought out titles as PlayStation murders Xbox with incredible new feature, or Xbox far behind PlayStation as PS5 gets amazing new game. Yes, Tiddlywinks comes to the PlayStation Store, or Game over Xbox, PlayStation 5's massive upgrade, brightness controls, or Xbox fans in panic as PlayStation gets huge boost to performance, hard drives coming 2021, or PlayStation thermals mean you don't have to buy central heating for your house. Okay, look, I'm making these up, but you get the picture, and if anything, they're toned down. These guys can take anything negative about their personal plastic god and make it seem positive, in their minds at least, while simultaneously taking any positive about the competition and turning it into a negative. It's the internet equivalent of writing "kick me" on a post-it note and sticking it to someone's back. And while it can sometimes be amusing, as with Craig memes last year, it's often just contrived or petty. And sometimes it even gets nasty, especially when there's any pushback. But why do fanboys do it? And what is it that's motivating Sony fanboys in particular? Because you'd think they'd be sitting back smugly with a cigar on. After all, the PlayStation 4 pretty much destroyed the Xbox One in terms of sales last gen. And Sony? Well, Sony's been putting out consistent content for years, while Microsoft has been struggling. But maybe that gives us a clue as to what's going on. As I say, last gen, Xbox struggled in some areas, and even though people like myself could see early on in Phil Spencer's tenure that things were changing, even some Xbox fans were getting impatient. And why not? It's all very well having good hardware and services, but at the end of the day, it's about the games. And Xbox's first-party output, well, it wasn't quite up there with the best, to say the least. That's set to change this generation though, and I think Sony fans know it. Of course, the sensible ones will just happily play the great games available on the PlayStation platform and look up occasionally to see what Microsoft has to offer. But the fanboys? Well, they'll panic because they don't like the possibility that they might not be backing the winning horse any longer. And it hurts that their bragging rights might get taken away from them. Some of the more fickle ones might even be worrying how they're going to go about jumping ship again without being seen as a flip-flopping money chaser. Oops, too late. It's the only thing I can think of that would make them so antsy. Why else would they be so down on Xbox at the moment? Why would they be taken to Twitter en masse and getting so angry and being so keen to dismiss everything Xbox is doing? Of course, these guys never really had any real bragging rights because what's there to boast about? The console I bought sold more than the console you bought, loser. It's a little bit pathetic and the rest of us understand that, but fanboys, well, they're so invested that they have to defend their plastic box, whatever the cost. So now that Microsoft has the better console, the better services, and possibly even the better games moving forward, what's there left for them to brag about? Well, as I said, the PlayStation 5 still has a great selection of games, and they will continue to have a great selection of games moving forward. They're going to look great and play great as well. But that's not enough. because it isn't okay that the PlayStation and Sony are going to be continuing to do well. For these guys, if the PlayStation is going to be a success, the Xbox has to be an abject failure. And that's just not going to be the case. We can already see the growth with Game Pass. And in fact, as developers get to grips with the extra power on offer from Xbox, we're likely to see the advantages of the hardware becoming more apparent, especially on multi-plat games, and that's going to stick in the craw of these guys. They just can't take it. And as this continues to happen, they're going to get more and more desperate in their attempts to undermine the Xbox. And, I've already seen some of the stuff. There was one guy the other day claiming that it took hours to download games on the Xbox and considerably less time on the PlayStation 5, which in my experience, and I know I'm only one guy, but in my experience just isn't the case. Both consoles download games pretty well. If I'm being honest, both of them. So, I don't know what this guy's doing, but I think it was on Twitter he said this, and it actually prompted me to suggest that he ditch his dial-up connection for something a little more powerful. Because honestly, it was laughable. Meanwhile, these same guys are completely ignoring some of the obvious problems with the PlayStation 5, like the lack of additional storage space or the problems with standby, some of the issues with stick drift and trigger problems on the PlayStation Dual Sense controller. And there are other problems as well. I've talked about these in other videos. Surely, these guys should be calling Sony out for these failings. Don't they want the PlayStation 5 to be better? I do. I like the PlayStation 5. I'm enjoying playing it. I'm loving Spider-Man Miles Morales. But if there's a problem, I want to know about it, and I'm going to say that there's a problem. But no, not these guys. To accept that the PlayStation 5 has problems would be a tacit admission that Sony isn't infallible. And that's just not something they can countenance. It is truly odd, because as I've already said, they'll happily point out the slightest failing that the Xbox might have. And look, the Xbox does have failings, and I've talked about some of those in previous videos, and probably will do going forward in future videos. But it's this inconsistency which I find most perplexing, because it shows a willful refusal to engage in critical thinking. Not that fanboys could ever be really accused of engaging in critical thinking, of course. If they were capable of such a thing, they wouldn't be fanboys in the first place. But here's the thing. Whether you're a Sony fan or an Xbox fan or even a Nintendo fan, or you're a part of the PC master race, healthy competition in any market is a good thing. And Sony fanboys should be happy that Microsoft are upping their game, because it'll keep Sony honest and it'll keep them on their toes. We've seen time and time again what happens when these companies get complacent, and that is ultimately bad for all of us. So yeah, have your fun making your memes and all the rest of it, but don't take it too seriously or get nasty about it, because that's just plain stupid. And there is a kind of nastiness to some of this. It doesn't feel funny. It just feels like people are just trying to have a dig for the sake of it. And it's got that feeling of like school bullying, Video games are a pastime, and you should be enjoying yourself. And if you lose sight of that, well, what's the point in having the hobby anymore? After all, what do you care what the guy with the other system's doing? Really? It literally makes no difference to you. It would be like spending your time thinking about what your mate's doing with his girlfriend instead of getting it on with yours, or worrying about the stud who keeps nicking everybody's girlfriends and showing them a better time. But enough about the PC. It's not like PlayStation games are ever going to move across to that platform, are they? The bottom line is that fanboys are idiots. and they're a liability to the gaming community because they make us all look like idiots. And yes, I know I've singled out Sony fanboys here, but that's just because they're the ones I've been noticing lately. Xbox fanboys and Nintendo fanboys are just as bad, and they've always been there as well. It's not like they've gone anywhere. It's worse now, though, with the fanboy situation because we've got the internet, and it's been getting worse over the years. And, it's just what happens when you give an idiot a virtual megaphone. But the fact is that neither Sony, Xbox or Nintendo are going anywhere anytime soon. And with a bit of luck, they'll all continue to appeal to their respective audiences and grow those audiences too, because it's good for us as gaming grows. And as the audiences get bigger and more diverse, perhaps the megaphone touting man-children will get drowned out by the sheer number of more sensible people who just want to play games and have a good time without being told by someone with the mental capacity of an NPC in Dead Rising that everything about the product they're enjoying is shit from the arse end of a syphilitic dog. So yeah, look, I keep saying it, but fanboys are a complete liability and an utter embarrassment. And Sony fanboys are currently the recipients of the Joe Chip Award for inconsequential imbeciles. Give it time now. I'm sure the Xbox fanboys or even the Nintendo fanboys will be back to challenge for the prize. And ain't that a pleasant thought? Anyway, look, that's me done. I've been going on for a bit now. I usually have one of these rants every year. But I'm done on this one, and I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea. Let me know if you like this one. Give it a thumbs up and all the usual stuff. Subscribe, hit the bell, and hopefully you'll get my future videos. But as I say, in the meantime, I'm going to go and grab a cup of tea. Excuse me, I think I need it. And I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.